The St. Louis Blues have found their secret weapon. It's heading into next season with one of the best prospect pools ranked around the NHL. The St. Louis Blues have the perfect opportunity to inject young talent in this lineup, but also weaponize these prospects to add even bigger players in the future. We're going to break down these reports on the St. Louis Blues prospects, how this changes the future, and so much more in this episode. You're not going to want to miss it. Before we get into that, if you haven't hit the sub button yet, we're trying to reach a goal of 4,000 subscribers, just under 200 away. So if you want to stay up to date on everything to do around the St. Louis Blues, from prospects, game reports, trades, rumors, anything you can think of, make sure to go down and hit that free subscribe button. It helps out a bunch, and we love pumping out content for you guys. But with that, let's just hop straight into it today, where we did see a recent article dropped by the New York Times going in and talking about the pipeline rankings and players for the St. Louis Blues. Now, going in at number 3, the bull in the china shop, Justin Carbonneau, is an obvious one to hop within this rank. Going into the report, you can see drafted 19th overall, the tier, a bubble top and middle 6 of lineup player. You can see skating is NHL average. He has high-end shot, an above average compete level. Everything is pointing towards Carbonneau, who is an untouchable in my eyes. And Darius, just looking at Carbonneau, what is your thoughts on him coming in as one of the most highly touted prospects, not only in the Blues organization, but along a lot of teams?
Yeah, we touch on untouchables across the league, and what exactly is that across the league? And I think that for the St. Louis Blues, they probably have two, and that's Dvorsky right now, and probably Carbonneau, because Carbonneau is a guy that a lot of people, a lot of scouts said dropped to the St. Louis Blues, and they got very lucky to select this player. And you got to be lucky to be good, and good to be lucky. So they got Carbonneau, and he's part of the organization now. And again, we've talked about it in the past, high compete level, all of these things. He's got a great shot. He's that new age power forward. I'm very excited to see what he does in training camp, because he knows that it's going to be difficult for him to make the team. So how does he kind of rise above all of that? But I think the biggest thing with the Blues too, and kind of like you alluded to off the top, take a shot if you're subscribed to the channel, but is that this is their secret weapon, and not just one player. This is what the St. Louis Blues have been doing and have been building. They have so many great young players coming up through the system, whether they're in the AHL or they're in the junior leagues, that they can come up, make a difference. We're seeing that with snuggerud right now at the NHL level. They have a couple guys that are ready to make the jump when called upon from the AHL if there are injuries or heading into next season. And not only that, they have a bunch of young talent, again, through the junior leagues, that they can then weaponize to go out and make trades if they have to at a trade deadline, or halfway through a season if they have to then go out, get other assets to obviously play on the team and play a role on the team. So that is the biggest thing for me with the St. Louis Blues team, and what Doug Armstrong's done with a lot of the younger players coming up through the system. And Carbonneau is just another one of those that I think is going to be very exciting. Does he make the team this year? Ultimately, I would say probably not if I was a betting man, but I do think that there is a shot for him to make the team. Anything can happen. So we've seen crazier things at the NHL level, like, being in last place in January and winning the Stanley Cup. We've seen that. So should be pretty interesting, but I think that the Blues overall, with some of the younger players, they're in such a great spot, Mark.
And I think the big thing is, this is the team that's getting back into the compete window, a window that's opening up for them to make a push for the Stanley Cup. And most teams doing this have an aging core, or a team filled with a lot of veterans with not great depth. But the Blues have both, which opens up the opportunity even more. Adding Carbonneau, a power for the team, going into the number 2 on the list with Adam Jiricek. And I was a little surprised that he was at number 2, but a very good defenseman, and is projected to be very good. He's an NHL average at a lot of things, but that is still very good for someone drafted 16th overall, an offensive defenseman that's going to join this group at some point in the future. You can pause and read through his plays, where he's great on the defensive end. He can move the puck, he can stay, break up plays. This looks like a new age player that can join the lineup. And once again, Darius, another player that's going to join this Blues team in the next 2 to 3 years, as they're competing for a cup on an entry-level contract, which gives you even more money to spend on the lineup. And I mean, looking at Jiricek, looking at the future of the decor, could you see him coming in? Mayu gets into that second pairing. Falk is moved on from. And that's where I think Jiricek could slide straight into the third pairing as a very cheap option.
Now, let me know if I'm crazy in the comments, but I don't believe Justin Falk is long for this team after this season. So, and we see, I see a lot of the comments. A lot of people tend to agree with that, but let me know if I'm crazy in thinking that down below. But I don't think that he is. So maybe Mayu, like you said, moves up in a season's time, let's say, or maybe even sooner than that. We don't know exactly what the plans are or how things go, but maybe a little bit sooner than that or next season. And then you have a guy like Jiricek coming up through the system that's going to take that role. I think in a perfect world, the St. Louis Blues wouldn't have made that trade with the Montreal Canadiens to bring in Mayu. They would have had Jiricek there, but he's still too young, still going through his development, all of those things. And you can't put a player in a position not to succeed. So obviously didn't want to rush him, but he's continuing to, his development through the OHL, had a pretty good season there, missed some time, right? You have to take that into account. But like you said, in terms of skill, high offensive skill. He's very quick, right? Great, can move the puck, can put the puck in the back of the net. So he's a very exciting player, but obviously he's going to take a little while to get to the NHL level, I think, with some of the other intangibles that you need to make the NHL. And obviously, you're poised with the puck, which he does have some of, but at least on the offensive side, but winning board battles, stuff like that. So he's going to have to continue his development there. But man, oh man, I see in the very near future, this guy being on the team, maybe as a third pairing defenseman. And I think that's pretty exciting. Kind of plays into what we've been talking about, that the Blues have such so many assortment of riches like down there in the AHL, and he's probably going to make the jump to the AHL as well too. Wanted to mention that. So that's pretty exciting. But just a bunch of players in junior, overseas, all of this stuff that, they're all going to be fighting for these spots. And I think having that healthy competition through different training camps, rookie camps, all these different things is going to be really good for their development as well.
And I think this is really coming at the perfect time. We know a lot of teams are going into a Stanley Cup contending window. They have people locked up. The Blues are doing this during where biggest inflation of cap we've ever seen in the NHL. So they're going to get a ridiculous amount of cap space with most of their core locked up. ELC's coming in, and speaking on the top prospect, of course, Jimmy Snuggerud coming in. We've covered him a bunch. He's above average or NHL average at almost everything. A very good, complete player coming out of the NCAA. We know what Snuggerud does. We've seen it in the playoffs. He didn't miss a beat. And once again, a very cheap contract, Darius, in the top 6. And that saves you so much money. If you're going out to spend $8 million on a top line right winger, you're going to be cap strapped. But with Snuggerud coming in on this cheap deal, could you see Doug Armstrong feeling more comfortable to be like, hey, I want to throw 9 to 10 million at maybe the most elite second line center possible, because we know we have Snuggerud locked up for the next couple of seasons and we can still get a bridge deal done after that?
Well, I don't know if you're ever comfortable throwing $10 million at a player, no matter who they are, but I think Snuggerud is a very interesting one heading into next year. And if you look at his stats and his very small sample size in the NHL, obviously a half a point a game player, but again, small sample size in the regular season, obviously what he did in the playoffs, I thought was super impressive. Did not look out of place whatsoever, which was incredibly impressive. But heading into next year, probably going to be around that, probably like a half a point a game player. Maybe he's getting 55 points, 60 points. That would be awesome. Obviously, he's going to be playing with a guy in Robert Thomas that I think, should expect to put up a ton of points and probably wants to, and is one of the best value contracts in the entire league, I think. And we went over that in a video, a couple of weeks ago. So should be an interesting season for him too. I don't think you should expect like a point per game out of him or anything like that, especially in his first full season in the NHL. But a couple things to watch, how does he play over the course of an 82 game season? He's never really done that. College and university is very different from even the junior leagues like the CHL in terms of scheduling. So how does he get accustomed to that? And how many points does he put up? Because that's what he's here to do. Put points up on the board, put the puck in the back of the net. And I think he's going to do that. But what clip does he do that at in his first year? I think that's going to be fun to watch. But I'm expecting over the course of his career in the next couple of years, big things from him. But we'll see, what step he takes if he moves up and down the lineup this year.
And I mean, Blues fans, what is your thoughts? Looking at the prospects, only covering 3 here, we know how deep the prospect pool. Looking at this same 16, you could even put an argument that a lot of their top end talent should push them up a tiny bit in this, but it will continue to get better. Would you move on from a prospect to add a key piece? Would you add another center, a Falk replacement, go out to solidify even a bigger prospect? Let us know down in the comments. And speaking of comments, we'll hop into comments today. And that's just going into Armstrong getting legend status within this organization. He's done an incredible job, and a dynasty is looking like a real situation. It's a perfect time to be a Blues fan. Go down and leave a comment on your favorite prospect. Who do you think has the highest potential Do you think they end up rocking a trade to bring in new talent? Let us know down below. While you're down there, leave a like, subscribe, share this with your friends. This is the first blender I've had in a while, but that'll be it for this episode. I've been your host, Mark, with my co-host, Darius, and take care.